Hi everyone, my name is Heidi Mancini. I am the founder of the Butterfly Effect. One event or small change can make a large difference. And the chaos theory states that tiny things or events, they can change the world. And the essence of a butterfly flapping their wings can make major change in our environment. So the idea is to get many people's ideas as a community to help out our youth and other women and adults to look at themselves and improve their self-esteem and their quality of life. I made hairstyles for 32 years, and most of the things that I've learned over my career, I've learned from my clients. I can't tell you how many people I've seen over a 32-year career, but I know it's been hundreds of people that my hands have touched. And I have to say, in many ways, their lives have touched me, and I've learned through their experiences and events in their lives. I don't think many of us are taught at a young age coping skills, and we also model those coping skills off of the adults in our lives. And sometimes the adults in our lives don't have the best coping skills either, so we just keep repeating and repeating mistake after mistake, behavior after behavior, and many times people just kind of learn to adapt to their lives and just get by. The idea of the butterfly effect is to improve people's self-esteem and challenge them to rethink some of their faulty beliefs that they have been embedded in them since they were babies little. When we start to think about this, you think about something that you think about yourself, whether it's true or not. You know, one of my truths would be that I was told as a young girl was, I'm terrible in math. You're never going to be good in math, so forget it. Go get into some career that you don't have to use math. So I spent most of my youth avoiding math classes, anything that had to do with equations, and I took primarily business classes. Then I ended up taking an accounting class and found out that I was actually pretty good with numbers in that specter. So I started to challenge myself and said, maybe I am good in math, and why would I have believed that from someone? Well, the reason I believed that from someone, because that someone was my teacher who was an adult and someone that I was told to respect. And what they said as a child, you believe as being, that's the truth. So what you find happening over years is that many people have these faulty beliefs about themselves. And some of those faulty beliefs, or I would say most of those faulty beliefs, are negative beliefs that somebody's put in our heads over time. So when I ask you to challenge a faulty belief, it's something that you believe about yourself. And is that a belief that you developed by trying, setting a goal, and then maybe not reaching the full goal that you set? So your belief would be, well, I really tried to do this particular project, and I guess I'm just not cut out for art. But it doesn't mean that I can't do it. It just means that I'd have to keep trying to get better at it. It doesn't mean that you're terrible in art because your particular project didn't look like a Monet. So what we do as young people is we give up. When we're told something, we just say, I'm not going to do that at all, and we give up. Self-esteem is built off of goal setting, and it's about the finish. It's not about, the result so much as it is finishing the goal and going through the process and enjoying the process as much as we can. Once we reach what we consider our finish line or our result or our goal, then we can evaluate ourselves and say, this was something I enjoyed doing and I'd like to do it again, or I enjoyed doing it, but I don't think this is something that I'm very good at, so I'm going to try something different. But when you do that, it teaches you to set other goals for other things. It could be one of my goals that I just set for myself was to be mindful of my words and be more mindful of my actions, because you never know who's watching and who's listening. So that was one of my intentions or goals for, this week, was to tell myself I'm going to be more mindful of what I say and my thoughts and my actions. So the premise of the butterfly effect is to get women and the community and men, if men would want to get involved in this project, to share ideas, skills, crafts, whatever specialties that they have, and help our youth to develop good self-esteem. Many of the young people don't have great role models. And what I mean by that is I'm not putting down adults, I'm not putting down parents. We all do the best that we can, and most times we do what we know. So however we were parented, we set those examples. And we do think that we're doing a great job when we're doing it. You know, with the exception if there's abuse going on, verbal abuse, physical abuse, those kinds of things, that we all know that that's not acceptable parenting or adult behavior to kids. What I'm talking about is the things that we do as adults because we model what our parents taught us, thinking that that's the right way to do things, not realizing that our children are their own individual souls and self that I believe they're given to us to take care of and to watch over, and we don't own them, and they have their own minds, they have their own paths, their own nuances, and we're there to guide them. So inadvertently, most parents are responsible for their children's worth and how they view themselves and how they view the world. So it's important that when we're parenting our children that we don't accidentally teach them faulty beliefs about themselves, because sometimes those beliefs are projections that we throw on our kids of ourselves. Or you've heard that statement, well, I live vicariously through my children. Then you have the parent that, or the person, the adult, however we want to say this, that pushes their children into things that they maybe didn't do as a child, and they want their child to excel in that area because they didn't. Again, we're pushing our belief, our thoughts on another human being. And at that point, we could be creating some self-esteem issues and some doubts in our children that they think they're not good at something because they can't do as well as us, or they didn't finish, or maybe they just didn't enjoy it. And it's okay to say, I don't enjoy something, and setting a boundary to that. So my first show is basically the question I wanted to talk about was faulty beliefs. And to question ourselves on those when we say something in our heads to ourselves, when we use that word, I can't. I don't think I can do that. I don't have the time for that. I was told this. That's not your thought. That's an experience that somebody else had and that affected them in some negative way, or maybe a positive way too. We don't have to look at everything in a negative. And they're projecting their belief onto you, and then you buy that as that's just the way it is because that's what I was told by an adult, or somebody maybe even that you looked up to as an adult, and maybe that wasn't the best advice or projection that they could have put on us. So interestingly enough, one of my faulty beliefs, growing up was the math, and it also was that I was fat and I wasn't pretty and I wasn't a lot of things. So I limited myself to a lot of activities because in my head I said, I'm too fat to do that. I can't run. I won't be able to run. I won't be able to, be as good as I can be because I'm overweight. The fact is I was never overweight. I had an athletic body, and that was perceived back then. If you weren't very lean and skinny, and I'm cautious to say anything skinny, fat, because I don't want to offend anybody. But it was somebody else's perception of themselves that they put on me. It was their projection of how they saw themselves. So they decided to throw that on me. And of course, being young and impressionable, I believe that about myself. There's a lot of talk lately about sabotaging, and you're doing things for ourselves. We sabotage ourselves because we procrastinate, or we don't do things because we think that we're no good. And so you just self-sabotage. There's no such thing as self-sabotage. That comes under the faulty belief. So once you start challenging those faulty beliefs that are sitting on your shoulder and whispering in your ear every time you try to do something, they whisper, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not the girl down the street or the boy down the street, you just have really bad genetics, you can't do that, we have no money for you to go to school. When you hear those voices, you need to replace that voice with, I can do this and I'm going to try to do this, and change that faulty belief that you have. And it's not self-sabotage. It's basically what we've been engineered in our little brains to think about ourselves from other people. So this is my first show, and I wanted to keep it short, but what I want you to take away from this show is think about any faulty beliefs that you may have and how you can change them. Take one. We don't have to take a million of them. Hopefully you don't have that many faulty beliefs about yourself. And we can take that one belief and we can change that belief to just changing it to I can. I can is a really powerful word rather than I can't. And see if we can challenge ourselves. If you have any questions for me or you want me to talk to you, you can always get me on my email. That's Camillio, Camillio, the number 1, at iCloud.com. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Any question is great. But the one thing we want to start with the butterfly effect is we want to start helping each other and helping our children so that we don't keep creating generations of girls and boys that have really self-esteem and they spend half their lives doing things they don't want to do and then being afraid to challenge themselves on issues that they can do and they would be really well at it. They've just been in their brain, they've embedded it in their brains that they're not going to be good, so they don't even try. Today's thing with our children, and when we talk about self-esteem, again, I'm going to go back to the premise about self-esteem is not about the finish and it's not about the result. And we live in an environment now where we praise our kids to death, telling them how amazing they are in everything that they do. So now we have children that once they get out into the real world and they're told for the first time, you're not that amazing and we're not going to accept, half-ass work or mediocre, effort. They're devastated. They're like, what do you mean? Well, most of their lives they've been able to get by on not really fulfilling a goal either set by themselves and it being about the finish and the process and how they felt while they were doing something, rather than, well, you have to be number 1 to be good at anything. And that's not true, because not everybody's supposed to be number 1. There is a second place and a third place in life, and that's okay too, because at the end of it, it's how you did for yourself. Did you set the goal? Did you enjoy the process? Did you finish? And if the answer to all that is yes, then you're number 1. You're just a different number 1, that's all. It's when we say to ourselves, I can't do that because I work too much. I don't have enough money. Somebody told me I'm not good at that. That's what creates even more of a less of a self-esteem, is when we keep talking those negative thoughts in our heads, and those are faulty beliefs. So I hope everybody has a great day. Think about today's show. It's about self-esteem, goal setting, and let's get rid of those faulty beliefs that we were told as children. And let's start challenging ourselves and challenging our children and our communities to do a better job. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone.